What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Raw review. This one is from December 18th, 1995. This year's reviews feel like they've gone quicker than the previous year's reviews, but now by the time that you're seeing this, it might be 2024, but I watched this episode in December of 2022. Also, we had an In Your House pay-per-view the night before. The main event match between Brett and Bulldog was probably top 5 matches of all time doing these reviews. And you know what? I'm going to do a quick rundown of what I think the top 5 matches are since 1993. We'll do this every 2 to 4 years. If I ever add or remove any of these, I could probably update it. But for the first iteration of this, top 5 matches will go from bottom to top. Number 5, Bret Hart versus the 123 Kid, Raw, July 11th, 1994. Number 4 was a Ric Flair versus Mr. Perfect on the episode of Raw in January 25th, 1993. And then number 3, WrestleMania 10, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, brother versus brother. Number 2, WrestleMania 10, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. Nothing has topped that ladder match since, except for at the In Your House pay-per-view, my number 1 match since doing these reviews, Bret Hart and the British Bulldog for the WWF title. And yeah, doing these matches for you guys, it was quick. I just ran them down really fast, but it took me like 20 minutes to try to remember some of the matches and go through the pay-per-views to compile the list. Not many pay-per-view matches that I would put on here, but to be honest, besides the 3 that I listed, the matches on pay-per-view didn't really live up to the hype. All the Bret versus Diesel matches were okay, but because of how they finished, I couldn't put them on the list. Finishes to matches really kept a lot of matchups off of this list. I can remember Mr. Perfect versus Shawn at SummerSlam. It was good, but it ended with a DQ. Some honorable mentions that I'll throw in here: Steiners versus the Quebecers, but the weird rules they had for their match was why I didn't mention it. Another pay-per-view match that gets an honorable mention is 123 Kid and Owen Hart. I believe that was at one of the King of the Rings. And also, anytime Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels had a match, those two were good, but Marty and Shawn couldn't compare to like Shawn Michaels and Razor or Bret Hart and 123 Kid. Something, those are like on the outskirts, but yeah, just wanted to throw those out there. But let me know what your guys' best matches from the years of 1993 through 1995 were. Maybe we have some similarities. Maybe you guys can remind me of some that I missed. And like I mentioned in the list, Bulldog and Brett put on a classic. Ended with a roll up, which always hate to see, but the rest of the match was near perfect if there ever was one, at least for the time and the style that they were going for. Other notable things from the pay per view: Diesel and Taker confronted each other after the show, but it will be Undertaker versus Bret Hart at the Royal Rumble for the WWF title. And we saw the return of Jeff Jarrett, which, speaking of, he is in the first match of the night versus Fatu. Jarrett was the first to declare himself as an entrant for the Royal Rumble. Again, killing any arguments that people say that back in the day, everybody used to qualify for the Royal Rumble. There would be qualifying matches all the time. Because now, for the fourth straight years, for all the Rumbles that I've been covering, someone has just declared themselves. Or what mostly happens, they're just in the Rumble. No rhyme or reason. So for as long as people say, oh, why don't they do qualifying matches? They've always done it back in the day. They never did them. Simple as that. I mean, would I like them to do qualifying matches? Sure, but let's not try to spin it like they always used to do it because they didn't. So getting into this match, Fatu hits a cutter but injured his arm. Jarrett sends him into the post. He goes for the figure four, but Ahmed Johnson comes in and causes the DQ because at In Your House, Jarrett attacked Johnson. I think Jeff might have gone too far because he sent him into the post, hit him in the head with a chair, and then sent him into the steps, which would take out most men, right? But then Jarrett grabbed the paddle and smacked Ahmed in the ass with it. This is when it started to look awkward because Ahmed started no-selling everything. He chased Jarrett to the back as he kept trying to fight off Ahmed. I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine Ahmed took offense to when he smacked him in the ass with that paddle, and he went into business for himself. I don't know. If you guys know anything about that, let me know. But then we get a word from Gorilla Monsoon telling us that Jared will not be in the Rumble match. Instead, he will go one-on-one versus Ahmed Johnson. So I'm all for it. That's one less awful wrestler in the match. You could take your pick of who you want to think that I'm saying is the awful wrestler. Next up, Goldust with a promo. He's keeping an eye on Razor Ramon, and they're leaning into the homoerotic innuendos with Goldust. He's lusting over Razor's machismo, so we'll see what's up there going forward. Then we have Buddy Landell, who made his debut last night at In Your House. He was taking Dean Douglas's spot against Ahmed Johnson because apparently he's injured. He's taking on Sparky Plug here. And also, who the fuck is Buddy Landell? It sounds like they gave him Ric Flair's music too, which is odd. They would just give it to some random jobber guy. Unless he's actually like somebody well respected in the business who I'm not aware of. It is actually funny that Dean Douglas brought out a Ric Flair cosplayer because during his time in ECW, he would always be calling out Ric Flair because he thought that he was a better wrestler than him. Which at first I was like, okay, this is a interesting call out. But the more that I watched of Douglas in ECW, I got tired of it, and I was glad that Flair never acknowledged this guy. Not that he ever would, but there were actually some random ECW appearances that you wouldn't think would actually be appearing there. So Flair being on ECW wouldn't be that much of a weird appearance, especially with Paul Heyman being the owner because he had a lot of connections in the in ECW because when he was there as Paulie Dangerously or whatever. Anyways, this fake Flair is awful. Like a wise man once said, just because you killed Jesse James, that don't make you Jesse James. Same thing here. Just because you look, dress, and act like Ric Flair doesn't make you Ric Flair. But he gets the win here. Nobody cares. Moving on. Poor Bob Holly. Nobody cares about him anymore. But moving on. We have another brother love show. This time his guest is Ted DiBiase. DiBiase had a fake Santa Claus attack Savio Vega at In Your House. Again, that was a weird attack angle because it looked like DiBiase and the fake Santa got heat for beating down Vega, but then Savio got up and they fought awkwardly to the back. I don't get why not have Savio get beat down and stay down, and then after Savio in other shows gets his payback. DiBiase says that 1996 will be the year of the corporation, but that's what he said about 1995. I remember he said corporation is alive in 95 or something like that. Also says that 96 will be the year of the $1 million championship and that everyone has a price for the $1 million man. He gives Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love, a hug, and that's it for that. Next up, we have Racer Ramon versus Yokozuna. Goldust also comes out to survey from ringside. Goldust had a gold envelope delivered to Razor. He looked repulsed while he read the letter that was in the envelope. Probably a love proposal. I don't know. All these Razor matches start before he's able to take off his belt, and this one starts the same. He knocks Yokozuna out of the ring. After getting worn down for the start of the match, Razor able to knock down Yokozuna after a couple of right hands. After a commercial break, I was just waiting for the interference from anybody. This match is going a little bit too long for there to be a clear winner. And right on cue, I swear I've never watched this before doing a review. Undertaker comes out wheeling out a casket as the light flickers on and off. Yokozuna is scared of caskets, as we all know, sees it and runs away to the back, which causes him to get counted out, and Racer picks up the win. So yeah, bad end to what was already a boring match because of how limited Yokozuna is. After the match, Racer Ramon interviews Goldust. Take a listen.
You know, Doc, Goldust, he sent me a letter. He tells me he thinks I'm so hot, I'm so handsome. Hey, Chico, you're right, but I don't play that. Razor, he only likes women. Goldust, you can do your thing, man, just not with me.
All right, could you elaborate any more on the content of that letter?
Well, it's a family show, Doc, but I'll tell you back in the back. It's not for children.
All right, Vince, back to you and the king.
So like I said, they are playing up the sexuality of the Goldust character, and because it's the 90s, gay equals heel. I'm not touching that subject with a 6-inch pole. Wait, that's not what I meant. Never mind. Finally, we get a touching, beautiful music video as a retrospective on Shawn Michaels' career, teasing even more that Shawn might be retiring and never wrestling again. Imagine if this was Shawn's actual last year in wrestling. I wonder if he would be remembered as the greatest of anything of all time. With the run that he had in the last 3 years, I don't think he would, but luckily for us, this won't be the last time that we're going to see the Heartbreak Kid. But you know what is the last thing? This episode for the year of 1995. This episode is going to get a bad grade, so that's going to make it 21 good shows, 25 bad, and we actually had one episode that I gave a great rating to. I believe that was in February, the episode where Jarrett and Diesel had a match for the WWF title. I'm not 100% sure when exactly that was, but you can go back and watch all my reviews and find out. So, another thing, let's see who won the Dominance Award. I've been at this the whole year, pushing it, shoving it down your throats. Pause. But we're going to see which wrestler had the most wins since making their debut, but only on Monday Night Raw. Pay-per-views, other shows, they don't count. So coming in tied for second place was Waylon Mercy, who did end up losing at a pay-per-view, but again, that didn't count towards his record. He won 3 matches on Raw since debuting and didn't make another appearance after his pay-per-view loss to Savio Vega. Then, coming in out of nowhere, here at the end of the year, Ahmed Johnson also 3-0 on Raw, but the winner by a landslide. And when Nitro debuted, they started putting him in more matches, which worried me because I did want him to win because we would have to name the award after this winner. And I didn't want it to be called the Bertha Faye Dominance Award or the Savio Vega Award. So instead, the winner at 7-0 on Monday Night Raw since debuting is Hunter Hearst Helmsley. The records will remain going into 1996. Most likely they will not stand, but if anyone beats the record of 7 wins, they will take the name of the award for future use. Or to shorten it even more, we could call it, just for now, we could call it the Triple H. Or what about the Try?
Tell him try.
Try.
But yeah, that does it for the year of 1995. And the beginning of the Attitude Era is upon us. We are finally getting out of the cartoon era, if you will, of the WWF and into some more interesting things in the world of professional wrestling. Not only in the WWF, but WCW, ECW, it's all heating up. So that gives me a little bit more hope doing these reviews because obviously I've been sitting through 94 and 95. Those were some of the worst years in WWF. So happy to be out of there going into the Attitude Era. So yeah, I'll be back with the reviews of 1996 in about 3 months or so. But until then, catch you on the flippity flip.